Shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Racha HaKwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you I say Shalom. This is the brother Yeshaya from the Great Millstone Charlotte Camp, coming at you again with another in transit. Pretty much going into the topic of Jacob's trouble and really touching on the point that this is just the beginning. What we're seeing right now with ICE, when we're seeing with all these layoffs, right? Because a lot of these things are hitting Jake, and Jake is coming to a point where they're starting to realize that they're going to need some help, coming into these situations, right? And we're here to let you know the only help you're going to receive is if you turn back to the Lord. Right? If you turn back to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, you will have good success, right? But if you turn away from this word, if you neglect the teachings of the scriptures, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that it contains, and ultimately all these things that you see before you is going to take you. Everything that we're talking about is going to take you. All right. Scriptures say in Sirach, the 40th chapter. As a matter of fact, let me get it. Sirach 40, I believe it's around 10. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start at 8. Sirach 40 and 8. Such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, and that is sevenfold more upon sinners. Death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge. All these things that is written right here are things that are prepared to take 2/3 of our people. Those that are that are of an unbelieving mind. Those that doubt that the Lord Yahweh Shai is on his way back to deliver his elect and destroy America. Right? These are the things that's being prepared for the rebels of our nation. All right. Now, of course, this is going to take the heathen nations as well that are here in America. But the direct focus of this time that we're in right now is to target you tribes, man. Target 2/3 of the nation of Israel. The scriptures talk about how the Most High sent out scourges for amendment. Well, these are the scourges, right? These are these ass whoopings in order to get you in repenting and a correct mindset. It's like whenever a sheep goes astray, you see a shepherd. A shepherd was his job to tend and watch over the flock. But whenever they're traveling, the shepherd has to keep the sheep, in order, right? Following him or following his guide. And if one sheep goes astray, what happens? Well, the shepherd has to, either, yell at it, or, the reason why shepherds carry that staff is so that way they can, hit the sheep on the side to correct its path. All right. Well, in the same sense, the Most High is bringing a lot of these forms of death, forms of judgment, to do the exact same thing, to bring correction upon Jake. All right. Now, some Jakes are being, put to death, but ultimately that's just judgment, But Jake will see this, and Jake will witness what is going on, and out of that, you're gonna have some of the elect that's gonna repent, right? That's gonna turn away from the ways of America, turn away from sin, and seek the Lord, because they're the ones that's gonna realize that the only way out of this situation, the only way for you to be preserved, right? For you to have some hope of escape is to turn to the Lord. All right. But like I said, things is gonna get worse, man. Things is just gonna get worse. It's gonna amplify. It's gonna reach a certain point to where this place is about to be the worst, or at least this time period, I should say. This time period is going to be the worst in history. 70 AD had nothing on this. All right. None of these, atrocities or, crazy events or plagues or whatever. Like people talk about the Black Plague. Well, that's nothing compared to what's coming, man. And the plagues that's coming with it. Right? Because the Most High, has new plagues that he can plague America or plague the world. Just like the C-19. Well, people will say that was fabricated. Well, the Most High put the spirit. If it was fabricated, the Most High put the spirit on these devils to fabricate it. So ultimately, it was all by design by the Lord. Esau is the Most High sword, and by that sword, he's going to use to judge 2/3 of our nation. Right? As a matter of fact, let me get that. Bear with me. Salakia. I'm trying to focus on the road right now. Alright, this is Psalm 17 and verse 13. It says, "Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." Okay? And the Most High is putting it in this devil's spirit to bring hell upon you, Jakes. And ultimately, it's because of your rebellion. The Most High put this hateful, demonic, bloodthirsty spirit on this damn devil, right? To come after you Jakes, man. Because ultimately he knows his kingdom is at his end, right? But all this wrath is going to be, built up, is going to be targeted to come against the elect, right? But you 2/3, y'all going to be that collateral damage that's going to take most of the hit, right? Because there will be some of the elect that's going to be caught up, you know what I'm saying, and beheaded, made martyrs for this truth, right? They're going to be some of the ones that's not going to bend the knee, right? It just talks about in Romans, right? The Most High preserved 7,000 men that did not bend the knee to the image of Baal, right? But this time that we're coming into, like I said, like I was going into, is going to be worse than any other time in history, right? That's in Daniel 7, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get it. Or I should say Daniel's 4. Salakia. I'm thinking of Daniel's Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. Here it is. It says, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people." This is the archangel Michael, right? Which Michael, he's pretty much a defender for the nation of Israel, right? But anyway, it says, "And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time." Right, so it's going to be worse than any other time in history, man. There's no time in history that's going to compare to this time that we're coming into, man. Jacob's trouble is going to be so far out there that, or so deadly, so devastating, and so horrific that the Archangel Michael is going to have to intervene. He's going to have to, protect the elect. He's going to have to, work miracles and step in, whenever it's needed, right? This is how the elect are going to be carried to the end, right? The Most High is going to guide the elect all the way to the end. I say carried because that's essentially what's going to happen. We're going to be carried, in a spiritual sense, all the way to the end, because the shit that we're going to see is not going to, it's you can't just, work around it. You can't just ramble it. You can't, muscle through it. This shit is going to take everybody like a storm. A hurricane that comes to the shore and just rips the trees apart, tearing shit up. This is how Jacob's trouble is gonna be, man. Anybody standing in the way, or that ain't protected by the power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, is gonna get shredded, man. And that's just the way it is. This is how judgment is going to be, or this is how, this is how judgment is going to be executed in this time, right? Which will lead up ultimately to the destruction of America, right? But in this process of hell and judgment, we're going to see the elect, pretty much their faith being tried, and ultimately through the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, they're going to withstand and be given victory over this world, over the devil, over this world, right? And receive that salvation. Ultimately, because they had the foresight. And it wasn't really, it's not of us, what I'm saying. This is of the Lord. It is like it talks about in I believe it's Hebrews, right? That faith is a gift of the Most High, right? Roughly paraphrasing. So faith is a gift, you know, and the elect, they were predestined from the beginning to receive this salvation. All right. But I should say the elect were given the foresight, right, the eye salve, to be able to see that this is the truth, right? The teachings and the doctrine of Yahushua was given unto certain men on the planet Earth right now that we know to be the heads of Great Millstone, right? The apostles, the elders, the bishops, and on down. These are men that have supreme knowledge in the planet Earth, or on the planet Earth. The supreme wisdom, right? That can only be given to those that the Spirit is supping with. All right. That's the reason why the scriptures talk about my sheep hear my voice. You know, only the Lord's sheep is going to hear his voice. Is going to hear this warning, because that's ultimately was being blown, right? That trumpet is being blown, that warning. Because what are the prophets? The prophets are watchmen. You know, sitting upon a tower watching. You know, the book of Ezekiel goes into that. But we're blowing the trumpet, and we're giving out the warning for people to get up and get ready, man. Prepare for battle. Not a physical battle, but this is a spiritual battle. Soon it will get physical. You know what I'm saying? That Esau is going to come after us. He's going to try to hunt us down. Some of us is going to escape. Some of us is going to get caught up. You know? We're going to be in situations we never thought we were going to be in. Right? But this is why I say, you know, that the elect, they're going to be carried to the end. They're going to be guided to the end. The finish line. All because they trusted in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Now, to those who don't, you know, their outcome is going to be taking the chip, submitting to the beast, and then being obliterated by fire. Nuclear destruction. Shit you see in movies. Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Right? Whatever other movie, you know, shows that. I know that movie, X-Men, Armageddon, they kind of showed you a glimpse of that. So, the times that we're coming into is evil, man. Well, the times that we're in is evil. What am I saying? The times that we're in is evil. And like I said, things is only going to get worse from here on out. Let me get this real quick. Bear with me. This is Ezekiel 7 and verse 5. It says, thus saith the Lord power and evil, and only evil, behold, is come. So that's pretty much was awaiting you Jakes. Right? Verse 6. And end is come, the end is come. It watches for thee, behold, it is come. Right? So the end is here. The end of what? The end of an age. The end of this era. The end of Esau's empire. Right? And as we understand, you know, better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. for us, we see this as a win. We see this as absolute joy, man, because for a long time, man, our people have been oppressed, destroyed, abused. You know what I'm saying? And continue to, and things can't continue to be like this, man. Scriptures talk about, if the Most High doesn't speed up the days or speed up the times, there shall no flesh be saved, man. And we're seeing that. The way Esau is ruling, nobody can live in this manner any longer, man. People are ready to crash the fuck out. People have had enough. And the fact that this man is making shit worse, making shit more tight, who the hell's gonna want to live in this world, man? And even then, who the hell is gonna be able to live in this world because of how restrictive, how polluted, you know what I'm saying? But again, just going back, we here, man. We at the end. And like I said, this should bring joy, man, to you Jakes, that Esau is finally going to go down, because we got to understand that pursuant to 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, Esau is the end of Esau is the end thereof, but Jacob, Salaki, how's it go? Esau is the end of the world, but Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Right? So we got next. But this time the earth is going to be ruled in righteousness, man. It's going to be allowed a chance to flourish, man, prosper, live. Allowed to actually rest. Everything's going to be in its proper balance. But like I said, this is something that 2/3 ain't really excited about, which is why they're going to be destroyed. They love it the way it is. They love America. They love black culture. They love Hispanic culture, Native American culture, which are nothing but death styles and wicked. Right? This is why Yahweh Shah is going to return and Salaki for all these messages. But this is why Yahweh Shah is going to return and bring destruction by the form of ICBM missiles, because the whole earth needs a refreshing, man. It needs a cleansing. When you go on a detox, you cleanse, get all that bad shit out of you. Well, the same thing with this, man. It was already cleansed before by water. This time it's going to be by fire. Right? As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find this precept. Going into fanners. This is Jeremiah 51 and verse 1. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will rise up against Babylon." What's this Babylon? It's talking about America, a future Babylon, mystery Babylon. But it says, "And against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind." That destroying wind is the ICBM missiles, man. It says, "And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land." Right, man. The scriptures talk about, I have come to bring, Yahweh Shah said it, I have come to bring fire But what will I if it be kindled already? Because hell's already going to be breaking loose before our Lord Yahushua returns, man. It's going to be a chaotic time period. Right? And there's going to be a lot of events that's going to take place that's going to fan the danger, the trouble, the judgment, the calamities in America. I said everything is going to increase exponentially here in these next coming months. We already see the setup for the MOTB. We already see, Esau, coming down with the biometrics, right? Over there in the UK. But soon, what's next? America. They're already working on the system. You already know that. All they gotta do is introduce it. Create a reason. Like the same old play. Problem, reaction, solution. They create the problem. Right? They see the reaction. And some of the reaction is also, pretty much the how should I put it? You have the problem, right? So Esau creates a problem, and then the reaction of the people, how they react to it, and then here it is, they bring out the solution. Right? This is how this man works. How they call it Hegelian dialectic. Right? Order out of chaos, order out of chaos. You see? So this is the devil that we're speaking about, man. He can't rule righteously. Scriptures talk about how his soul is not upright in him. But anyway, let me go back. Jeremiah 51 and verse 2, it says, "And will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about." Who's that they? Pretty much it's talking about all America's enemies, but also even America's allies, man. You see? Because, and that's spoken about, in Obadiah as well. They that, how's it go? Let me get it real quick. Obadiah 1. Let's see. Right here, verse 7. "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even unto the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. And they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him." Because best believe these NATO nations, a lot of them are getting irritated of the foreign policy that, Donald Trump is implementing, especially with these tariffs. This economic war that Trump is having is affecting commerce, is affecting energy, is affecting a lot of things that these NATO nations need, right? A lot of these nations, like all Europe right there, is considered to be, the bottomless pit. Ultimately, because they don't have no resources like that. So they have to, get resources from these larger nations like China, Russia, Iraq, Iran, right? But them being aligned with the whore, with America, the foreign policy is that's being pushed pretty much restricts them from doing so, which is really affecting them. All they're doing is really cutting themselves off, right? But this is going to lead to, disagreements. This is going to lead to really things becoming more and more divided, to the point where eventually these nations are just going to break off from America, and they're going to hate America and bomb her, man. America's going to be destroyed, right? So all these missiles that these nations have, they're going to be used, and the Spirit of the Lord is going to make those missiles not miss their mark. Those missiles are going to be used and they're going to hit, right? There ain't going to be no Golden Dome, right? Or even in Israel, the Iron Dome, that shit ain't going to work whenever the destruction is set, right? When this destruction is set to happen, that Iron Dome, the Golden Dome that Donald Trump talks about, none of that shit is going to matter. None of that shit is going to work. All right. But, we're at the end, man. So it's time to get our minds right. Time to get your mind right, Jake. And for us brothers, to continue to push, continue to go hard, continue to put it in our minds that, like I said earlier, to put on, therefore, as the elect. You gotta tell yourself, it's almost like you gotta tell yourself that you're one of the elect, man. You gotta tell yourself that you're one of the elect, and as the elect, you gotta behave as the elect. We don't know who the elect are. We pray and we hope that we're part of the elect, right? But it's just like when a basketball player like Kobe Bryant, whenever he, would train or play ball, he'll pretty much tell himself that he's the best, right? Boxers do that. It's a form of, I guess you could say hypnosis or whatever. But hey, it's a vibration. Your body is water, man. Whatever you tell your body, that water is it registers it, right? You tell yourself that you're gonna be part of the elect. You tell yourself that that you're gonna keep the law the best that you can. You tell yourself all these things. Soon enough, you're gonna be doing it. But if you tell yourself all the time, "Oh, I can't do it. I'm not part of the elect. I can't do that. I can't do this." Well, then you can't. You ain't gonna do it, unless, of course, the Spirit of the Lord, dictates what you're gonna do, because that's ultimately what it's all about, right? But anyway, I'm gonna close it off with that. I pray the lesson was satisfying. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing His word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Until the next time, I'm gonna say Shalom, Kwam Yasha Allah.